Hi, I'm Billy, one of the Fujiguys here to show you a quick look at the X-S1's top features. Of course, this camera is our X series camera, which is made in Japan, has a 26 times zoom with an articulating screen. It's one of the X series cameras that actually have a long zoom to it. Let's take a look at some of the key features found on this camera. The X-S1 offers raw shooting capabilities. You push the raw button, it enables the raw file. You take the snapshot, it's going to save that raw file. You can then use the camera's raw processing to convert that to a JPEG. Now once you use the raw button, the next shot you take is going to go back to JPEG again. So if you want to shoot raw all the time, what you do is you go into the menu of the camera and you go into the image quality, and that's where, you go into the menu and scroll down in the setup menu. My apologies. You go into the RAW, and you would enable that RAW all the time, where you can shoot JPEG or RAW if you wanted to. Now, if you don't want to shoot RAW, and generally Fuji's processing is quite good for this camera, and you don't necessarily have to shoot RAW, you can always leave it at JPEG and push the RAW button when you need to. Now, if I look back at that RAW image, if I wanted to convert that file, there's a RAW image right there. I push the RAW button, and it brings up the RAW conversion option there. And I can actually change things like over and underexpose the image. I can make it into a shot that's mimicking, black and white, film with maybe a red filter on that. Change the white balance. Once I'm happy with it, I push the RAW button, and it then processes that RAW file within the camera, and it tells me if I want to store that, I can do that right there. You can see great little option that's built into the camera is the RAW, in-camera RAW conversion option. Okay, so that's just a quick look at the RAW shooting on the X-S1. The X-S1 has a really good motion panoramic mode. In order to get into that mode, you turn the dial to the advanced function right here and push the menu OK button. You have actually different other options here like Pro Low Light, Pro Focus. I'm going to concentrate on the panoramic mode right now, so I'm going to push OK. You have the ability to shoot up to 360 degrees and also change the directions from left to right, right, left, up, down, down, up. In fact, if you actually change the direction so that it goes up and down, you can rotate the camera vertically and do the panoramic this way instead, and you actually obtain slightly higher resolution, okay? For this demo, I'm just going to use it from left to right, and I'm going to change the angle to 120 instead. It makes it a little easier for me to demo that feature. Okay, so what I do is push the button, and then just rotate the camera, and the camera should automatically stitch that scene up to me together. Quite quick. It is an X-series camera, it has very fast functionality. I push playback on that, and you can see it does a pretty good seamless panoramic image. If I want to zoom in on it, I push the zoom button, and I can pan left and right, as you can see right there. And that's just a quick look at the motion panoramic feature on the X-S1. To adjust the aperture and shutter speeds on this camera, it's pretty simple. The camera has a 9-blade aperture as well as a very fast shutter speed. To go to that, you set it to the M mode, and it allows you to adjust both the aperture and shutter speeds. As you can see right down here, the lens is an f2.8 at the wide, and at faux it becomes an f5.6, which is pretty good for this size of a lens and this length of a lens. Now to adjust the aperture, of course, you use the command dial, and by rotating that, you can go from an f2.8 to an f11, as you can see right there. Okay. If you want to change the shutter speeds on the camera, you push the plus or minus on the top, and it toggles over to the shutter speeds. I can adjust that up to, again, a very slow shutter speed, including bulb mode, and again, to a very fast shutter speeds, all the way up to 1/4000th of a second. Depending on the aperture, you may have to increase the aperture, otherwise the shutter speed's not going to be working for you here. There's a little screen on the left here. It's basically your little meter. It tells you if you're underexposed or overexposed. At the moment now, it's telling me at this shutter speed, my image should be actually underexposed. If I adjust the shutter speed now and bring it down and put the meter to around 0, I'll take the snapshot. It should give me a proper exposure. And if I do it too slow, in terms of shutter speeds, I should get a washed out image, and this is what I have. So you can actually use that meter to help you expose the scene properly if you wanted to do that. Again, for aperture and shutter priority, it's pretty simple. Just rotate this dial to adjust the shutter speeds, and the aperture will automatically be adjusted. Same thing when it's in the aperture mode. You adjust the aperture, and the shutter speeds will automatically adjust it for you. So a quick look at the manual mode on the X-S1. The X-S1 offers a really good intelligent digital zoom. That's unlike any other digital zoom. It actually sharpens the edge of the image and cleans it up a little bit. So if you feel that the 24 to 624 millimeter equivalency on this camera is not enough for you and you want to get just a little bit more, you can also enable the intelligent zoom. I have the function 1 button set to be my intelligent zoom, so let me just zoom out. So you can see that if I push 1 time, it gives me a 1.4 magnification, and 2 times, push it a second time, it gives me a 2 times magnification. And again, I can get a lot closer by doing that. And of course, it does give me, again, a better edge sharpening than just standard digital zoom. And it actually looks really good. So if you're stuck in a spot where you can't get any closer, that's where you want to take advantage of this intelligent digital zoom option. And I've found it to be one of the best features over any of the other cameras so far in terms of the quality of that digital zoom functionality. To access the high-speed continuous shooting, you push the button on the top here, and you can toggle between, different speeds here. You have super high, and basically you hold the button down, and it fires a bunch of shots pretty fast. Once it hits the buffer point, it slows down a little bit, but it continues to shoot up to over 100 shots. And again, you can let go, and it saves all the images. If you want to have a very fast read-write time, you want to buy a Class 6 cut or higher with a good capacity and a good brand as well, so that you have less delay in regards to the read and write time of either shooting in RAW or shooting in the high-speed shooting modes. In addition to that, there's this feature called the best frame capture mode, and basically what you do is you set it up so that you can capture, again, different speeds. I'm going to put it at super high, and then I'm going to change the number of frames to show basically 16 frames. And the way this works is this. In this menu here, as you can see, if I scroll left or right, it shows me 8.7, 6.9, whatever I want. What that's telling me, for instance, 5.10, this is the shutter line. When I push the shutter button all the way down, it's going to capture a photo. Then it's going to capture 10 photos after I push the shutter button. It also captures 5 photos before I even fully depress that. So let's just take a look at that and test that out. So again, here's how the camera works. I'm going to push halfway down. It's not taking any pictures yet until I push fully down. I exaggerated that push just to show you. It captured one image, 5 images before I fully pressed, and 10 images after. So it sort of takes the guesswork out of shooting, high-speed action shots, so that it makes it easier to capture that, again, best frame capture feature on this camera. The X-S1 offers a full HD video with stereo sound. You can actually zoom during the video. It actually has a manual zoom. In addition to that, there's a focusing option here where you can change it from the single focus, which constantly focuses during the video, or the manual focus option, which you can actually use the manual focus ring to focus. And that's what I like to do instead. Simply how to do the focusing, again, you just change that dial. You can see the focus adjust. Works really well in this camera. You push the record button to instantly record the full HD video. And as you can see, I can adjust the focus by rotating it the way I want it, and get the image now in focus. I can zoom in a little closer for you, and then readjust the focus there. Great for filming, I guess, concerts where subjects are moving. So in manual focus, the focus is not going to move. It's not going to add any noise to the camera. During the video, of course, you can also take pictures by pushing the shutter button, and it's uninterrupted photos, so that your videos, it captures 3 megapixel images. The videos are not interrupted. So on playback, as you see here, I'm just going to push the playback button right there. You'll notice that the image is a small size, and then you have the full HD video, and it's unedited in terms of no interruption to the video. So that's just a quick look at that feature. Of course, you don't have to shoot full HD video. If you go into the menu of the camera, you can scroll down until you see the, sorry, go back to the shooting mode, then push the menu button, and scroll down until you see the movie modes. You have full HD, but you also have 1280 by 720p. You can also do 640 and even shoot at faster frame rates at 70 frames, 120 frames, or 200 frames a second at 320 by 112. In those high-speed video modes, I highly recommend you have very good lighting, so you want to shoot in outdoors for that situation. So let's take a quick look at 640, 480, 70 frames a second. Push the record button, and even though it's so short, it lasts quite a long time. So if I can play that back for you, that 1 second video now becomes almost like 6 seconds and whatnot. And again, it's a cool little function to have when you have good lighting available to you. In addition to that, if you go into the menu again, you can configure the still shooting mode. So you know how I showed you how you can take a picture? If you want to get an 8 megapixel image, which you can, you want to change it to still image priority instead. However, when you film your video, there'll be a slight little interruption every time you take that photo. So generally, I like to leave it at the movie priority mode for that. A quick look at the HD video functionalities of the X-S1. In addition to all the controls and quick access buttons that you have on this camera, whether it's the RAW button or some of the exposure controls, ISO, white balance controls, you do have 2 dedicated function buttons on this camera that can be reconfigured. Just by holding down the function button for a few seconds, it brings up the configuration screens to select what you want that function button to do. You have the ability to do focus checks, enable the intelligent digital zoom function in face detection, etc., etc. I'm going to leave it on intelligent digital zoom for now. In addition to that, the other function 2 button can also be configured by holding that down for a few seconds and setting that up. And I have that set as my manual focus option, so that when I'm in manual focus on this camera, I push the function button up and it zooms in for me. Then I can actually adjust the focus using the manual focus here to see a little bit easier. So that's just a quick look at the function buttons of the X-S1. The camera's EXR sensor technology with the processor itself gives you better image quality in basically any lighting situation. The technology itself automatically adjusts between different scenes from low light, where it actually merges the pixels together to give you higher sensitivity with less noise. You also can shoot in high contrast scenes and it automatically detects that and gives you different exposure readings for the highlights and shadows to give you a better increased dynamic range. Or it doesn't do anything and it gives you max resolution at 16 or 12 megapixels on the X-S1 here. Now it does it automatically, but you can also configure it by going to the menu on the camera and scrolling down to the EXR mode and presetting it to whichever mode you want to shoot, whether it's high ISO, low noise, or dynamic range priority. You can also take advantage of EXR technology out of that. So if you plan to shoot in aperture priority or full manual controls, all you have to do is change the resolution on the camera so that it's, instead of being the full 12 megapixel, it's a 6 megapixel. That's going to give you the benefits of the EXR technology. So that's just a quick look at EXR mode on the X-S1. The X-S1 offers, of course, an LCD screen as well as an electronic viewfinder. There's a button beside that where you can actually toggle between the LCD or the electronic viewfinder, or also the eye sensor. So there's actually an eye sensor that when you stick your eyes to, it automatically switches between the different optical viewfinders right there. So if I can try and show you the optical viewfinder on the screen, you can see inside there, kind of. And I pull that back out for you. Now, of course, in addition to that, you can have different displays on the LCD screen and the electronic viewfinder by pushing the display button. There's also a custom display mode that can allow you to configure what you want on the screen, including this level, as you can see right here. And this is great for actually leveling my landscape so that I know that I'm shooting perfectly on the horizon itself, so that your pictures, again, will look more professional. And this can be done using the LCD screen or even on top with the electronic viewfinder as well. You can also have a custom display up there, including the electronic horizon level. Let's take a look at the advanced mode on the X-S1. Again, go into the advanced dial, you push the menu OK button. In addition to the motion panorama mode, there's what's called a Pro Focus and Pro Low Light mode. In the Pro Low Light mode, what it does is it takes multiple shots and it merges it all together, determining the areas of the images that it thinks it's noise and it's data, and it actually really cleans the image up. So it's one step above EXR technology on this camera. In the Pro Focus mode, if I go back into the menu, it gives you that sort of SLR look by actually defocusing the background. And how it does it, it takes multiple shots, determine what the foreground and background is, and you can configure to take 2 or 3 shots here. And I'm going to try to do 3 if I can. And you want to zoom in slightly a bit, so that the camera can give a little bit distance between the background. And it says that it's going to do 2 shots. And if you look at the image there, you see the background automatically gets blurred out a little bit in addition to the actual aperture on this camera being an f2.8. And as you can see there, it does a pretty decent job. If you look at the edges, sometimes, depending on the situation, it can blur up the edges a little bit, but in this instance here, it did a great job on the actual Pro Focus mode, and it looks somewhat like an SLR look and feel to the image. So that's just a quick look at the advanced mode on the X-S1. That was just a quick look at some of the key features found on the X-S1. Don't forget to subscribe to my videos, as well as to follow me on Twitter for more information on this and other Fujifilm models. Until then, I'm Billy, one of the Fujiguys.